This episode of Q Point Podcast is pre-recorded, produced and sponsored by Corenna Quirk, broker at Next Home Experience.
Different views.
I know your story.
From different cues.
Incredible job.
He's David Quirk.
You brought it up.
And she's Corenna Quirk.
Imagine.
This is
Q Point.
Joining us now in studio is Andre Cushing, President of the Maine County Commissioners Association and Chair of the Penobscot County Commissioners, and also served terms in both the House and the Senate. Welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me here. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for taking the time. We know you're a busy guy.
I find there's plenty to fill the day up.
For listeners who may not follow county government closely, what do county commissioners actually oversee in Penobscot County?
Well, thank you. That's a common question we get. People say, well, you're a county commissioner. What do you guys do? Well, county commissions in Maine oversee the budgeting process for the county jails and the rural patrol. We also have the departments of 911 calls, the emergency call centers. We have the emergency management departments that handle natural or man-created disasters and do planning for various things. That's where the federal money can flow through to the municipalities if there is a disaster. You have internal departments for facilities, IT, human resources, and then we have some elected departments. We have the sheriff's department. The sheriff in Maine is an elected position, as is the Register of Deeds, the Registry of Probate, the district attorney, and the county treasurer. So the county treasurer is an interesting job because it used to historically be the person who handled the finances. Many of your counties today with complexities have a full-time finance department with a hopefully qualified individual to manage those things. And we can certainly talk about the mechanics of that a little later. But of those positions, the elected people have a unique role in that we do not employ them. They are elected by the citizens of the county, and they are, in essence, like us, commissioners, beholden to them. Their departments are county employees, so managing contracts for union purposes, managing the benefits, the payroll, all of those things are the responsibility of county government. The jail is your biggest portion. It is generally about 45 to 50% of a county's budget. The benefit of county jails in Maine is they act as regional holding facilities and regional booking. What that means is your localities no longer have to have facilities to lock people up in. When they arrest someone, and that can be a local municipal department, it can be county, it can be any of the state agencies, police, game wardens, Marine Patrol, IFW, and federal. When they arrest people, they are brought and booked at a state county jail. And then they are held there either until they're bailed out or when they are ultimately brought before a judge for arraignment. If they are under a year's sentence, when they are finally convicted, they would remain in the county jail. If it's a more significant sentence, they would go to a state prison or correctional facility.
So the Bangor Police Department doesn't have a jail. They take it to the county jail.
Correct. There are a few municipalities that still have holding facilities. One of those examples that works well in northern Maine is Caribou acts as what they refer to as a 72-hour hold facility. So if somebody in the St. John Valley or in the Presque Isle, Caribou area gets arrested, they can be taken to that holding facility and then transported by the county to the Holton Jail, which is the southern part of the county. But almost all of your municipal departments bring them in. The advantage of the municipalities, particularly for rural towns, they don't have as many people on the road. So by booking them through the county system, they can get their officers back on the road more quickly, which is an advantage in managing your time and the enforcement duties in a community.
Well, budget season always seems to bring tough conversations, and you've made a few headlines for certain. What's different about this year?
We operate in Penobscot County on a calendar year, meaning we start January 1st. The state and a lot of municipalities have gone to the July 1st fiscal year. So that in itself creates a little bit of a complication because the revenues that come in are predominantly from property taxes, and most of those are not paid until October. So we have to have the means to operate county government for at least 9 months without the majority of those tax dollars. That's one complication. And as the budget has grown, the need for revenue has certainly increased. What we faced in Penobscot was sort of the perfect storm. We've been advised in the past that we were on a course that was not sustainable, but changing things is always challenging. This year we were faced fully with the problem of how the jail has risen in cost, and we have not had the increased revenue either from the state or the ability to create that increased revenue from property taxes. So for about 4 years now, we have filled that gap between what we can assess for property taxes and what the state pays us and what the bill for operating is with what's called undesignated funds. So every business or organization knows that you need some cash in the till, and there's a certain period of time that you need to be able to cover in case things don't come in. We have dug into that for the last 5 years, and we have exhausted our fund balances. So when it came to this budget year, that deficit between what the jail operations had cost and what we have been able to apply to it got too big. So we added about $3.5 million in jail deficit to this year's budget, which resulted in over a 15% increase to the taxpayers of Penobscot County. And it created a lot of consternation with our budget committee. There are 15 members who are elected or appointed to represent the communities in Penobscot County in reviewing our budget. That's been going on for many years, and it's helpful. But this year, they were aghast at what we were dealing with and asked us to go back and look at it. And there was a number of people who were new that were just stunned by the process. So out of respect to them, we did go back and try to find savings. We'd started at about a 20% increase over the prior year's budget. We were able to scale that back to about 15.6%, which was roughly $1 million over what we had originally started with. To give people an example, every $250,000 in revenue equals 1 point increase in the county budget. So by cutting about $1 million, that was 4 points off the budget. So it got it down to around 15.6. That's still a large number. It does not mean, and I want to clarify this because the media misspoke on this, it does not mean your property tax bill itself is going up 15% because of the county budget. There is an assessment based upon the value of your community and your property. So in the city of Bangor, where our treasurer lives, he did the calculations on his own property tax bill. It was 21 cents per thousand in valuation. So if you do the calculations on that, $21 per 100,000 on a $300,000 home is about $63, $64. So while nobody likes to pay more taxes, hopefully that reassures property taxpayers when they hear a number of 15%, that does not translate into their own bill. It is a proportion of that based upon what the town's budget is.
You are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Corenna Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Andre Cushing, president of the Maine County Commissioners Association and chair of the Penobscot County Commissioners.
So we've been talking about the budget with the jail. What is going on with the jail or the new jail possibly?
First and foremost, we're not going to build a new jail. We're going to build a correctional facility. And the difference is we have a lot of people that come into jails now that have healthcare problems. It may be a mental health problem. It may be a substance use problem. It may be a physical health problem related to those other two factors. We've had some very unfortunate situations where people have come into the jail with open wounds and things that really need more detailed medical attention. None of your county jails in the state have in-house medical facilities. We have in the jails, in many cases, a medical team that is able to provide medications and do cursory reviews of issues. But if you need an IV, if you need some levels of treatment, there's nothing in county jails. They have to go to the hospital. If they're in distress, they go to the ER. And anyone who's been in the ER knows that's not a good place for somebody to detox or somebody with mental health. It's busy, it's hectic. The staffs there do their best, but they're in controlled chaos. So we want the new correctional facility to have the medical beds in-house so that we are not having to take everybody to the doctor or even the dentist. When a dentist has to see an inmate, they have to close their office or create special times. If we can bring those services into the jail,
we can save money and we can treat people more effectively. So that's one part of the corrections. The other thing is many of these people could benefit getting their lives together if they had services. You've got the barn over in Brewer. You've got the programs that help people who have addictions. Sometimes literacy volunteers would be helpful. Having the space in a correctional facility so you can provide those things can create a pathway to get people back to a more self-sufficient role rather than being involved in the frustration of not knowing how to do things. So we want to put people on a pathway to success if they're ready for that. Our jail right now for mental health counseling, for meeting with attorneys, some of these things are going on in the hall because there were no spaces left. It's not fair. It's not conducive to the environment you need. So the jail that we are currently operating in was built in 1987. It's what's called a multi-story jail, which it means a lot more movement to get people to medical, to get people to their outdoor exercise or whatnot, requires staff. If we build a one-level facility, we'll be able to house more inmates in segregated, what they call pods, without increasing our staff significantly because there'll be a control room that can look down over all of those and monitor what's going on. There'll be the space that they can go to for meetings, either with their attorneys or for training. There'll be the ability to get outside without as much staffing. So it's more economically feasible. It will reduce the tremendous overtime we spend. When you have an inmate that has to go to the hospital, we have to send 2 correctional guards. We had one unfortunate incident with a man who was involved in an incident at McDonald's. And the court reviews that, and if they feel they should be in a psychiatric bed, it's a process called blue papering. The judge signs that and directs them to a psychiatric bed. Both of the state facilities declined to take this person. For 23 days, he was in a hospital bed at Eastern Maine. It cost the county, just in overtime, $24,000. We have another gentleman that we dealt with last month that was over 15 years in and out of the system. He was well known to the healthcare providers, to the jail. We had to take him to the hospital because he had done some things that created a health problem that needed him to be in a bed. Again, we're looking at overtime costs to have 2 correctional officers with that individual. The hospital has no beds that they can secure, so we're forced into a cost that we don't get reimbursed by the state for that.
So this corrections facility will have beds? Is that what you're saying?
This correction facility will have the cells with beds for individuals. It will then have a separate section, which will be a medical suite, where we can put them into beds for various conditions and bring medical staff in. It will have the space for dental care so that we will be able to serve them in-house rather than taking them to a dentist. And we'll have other services we'll bring in. We have secured an option on land in Hamden, Maine. To accomplish this, there are a couple steps. Number one, we will have to get approval of all of the county to move out of the county seat of Bangor to a different location for that to operate. That's under statute. Secondly, we will have to get approval of the bond to pay for that. So it'll be a 2-step process. Our goal is in June of this year to present to the voters the request to move out of the county seat to locate. At that point, we can then go to the planning board in Hamden. We've had some initial conversations. We will be having some public-facing meetings on this. We're excited about the partnership with Haley Ward, our engineer, and a company called RQAW, which specializes in modular jail facilities. The cost is significantly less than a design build. We've gone through probably 20 different locations over the years that we've looked at as a suitable site, and we needed a minimum of 10 to 12 acres. As you can imagine, it is very hard in a growing area like Bangor to find 10 to 12 acres in proximity to the utilities you need, because think of the hotels down the street from you here. They need public services, so we needed the same thing. Finding that land that does not conflict with residences or other considerations really crossed out a lot of the spaces we looked at. Wetland and soil issues crossed out a lot of the spaces we looked at. We're grateful to Bangor for the time that they put in trying to help us find things. Just nothing was there. And this parcel came to us in Hamden. We had it reviewed. We're being very diligent because there was a parcel bought years ago, the old Y, and it wasn't fully vetted before they bought it. So we ended up with a basically white elephant that was not suitable. We tried to build on that, and it was requiring us to go up, and it would have made it the tallest building in downtown Bangor. So this facility, once we get the green light, we'll move forward through the process, and this fall, the November ballot will have the bond once we have clearer understanding of what that cost will be.
Well, in addition to that, won't it also save the amount of money that the county is spending on renting cells?
Yes, we board out. So our licensed population in the jail is 157 every night. We've run between 165 and 170 because we're like an emergency room. You never know how many are coming, how long they're going to stay. The court systems have been trying to catch up from COVID, and that has delayed things. The public defender system has delayed things because of the need and the lack of attorneys. The state's tried to address that, but the bottom line is we're licensed for 157 people. We're boarding out or have been boarding out around 60 to 70 people at other jails around the state that have capacity. Somerset has been a good partner. The Two Bridges Jail, which is down in Wiscasset, the Sagadahoc Lincoln facility, has boarded folks. But that boarding cost has gone up as their costs have gone up. We're now paying an average of $100 per night per inmate. And if they have a medical condition, a lot of those costs also are being absorbed by the county. An interesting part of this is when somebody is arrested under federal law, they lose their Maine Care or Medicare. So if you've got somebody who's been on Maine Care, they become an inmate, they lose that and the county has to pick those costs up.
You are listening to Q Point Podcast. I'm Corenna Quirk, co-hosting with my husband, David Quirk, and we are having a conversation with Andre Cushing, president of the Maine County Commissioners Association and chair of the Penobscot County Commissioners. Well, let's pivot to emergency services provided by the county. Tell us a story recently. Was it up in Howland?
Well, a little beyond there. There's a small rural community in southern Aroostook, which is McGuahawk. And there was a call for an ambulance because a lady was in distress. Because of the rural nature of it and some other factors, there were a number of different departments that our dispatch at Penobscot County attempted to send to that call. We do the 911 calls for both Penobscot County and Aroostook County. So that's one of the regional aspects that counties can offer is we are the busiest call center in the state because we handle those and 3 other towns that we contract with for 911. This call came in. They attempted to dispatch several ambulance departments. Either there was not an ambulance available because they were on another call, or in some cases, because McGuahawk had not joined a relationship with some rural towns in the area, they declined to send someone. So this went on for over 45 minutes, and when they finally found an ambulance that would respond, it was over an hour away. The woman expired before somebody got there. It's a real tragic situation. Some of the positive things that have evolved out of this is rural communities. You take some of these communities that had mills. For many years, the mills supported their people getting trained as firefighters or emergency management technicians because they knew the value within their house as well as in their community. That's kind of gone away. We also have an aging population, as we all are aware. We're the oldest state in the nation, and it's getting tougher and tougher to find employees, let alone volunteers. So the Howland chief, Josh McNally, got together with some of the area folks and started talking about what are we going to do to assure that we have a safety net here. And they formed a working group of 8 towns and 2 townships to talk about a regional fire EMS district. Ultimately has become the first one in the state of Maine. They have a board like a school department that oversees it, and then they have full-time chief and folks who administrate the department and make sure the training is done. It's been in place about 1.5 years, is operating very well. It's meeting the needs. It's a little unique because of the relationship of those communities, but it is a model that we saw as valuable at the county level. We actually helped them by hiring a moderator to finish the process and having our law firm handle the bylaws and the agreements. So out of that, we have used some of the grant funds that are available for emergency services. And there are 3 areas of Penobscot County that are in discussions about doing something similar to that. Up in the Millinocket area, they're working on a regional group. They're working on a regional group out in Levant, Newburgh, Carmel, and then up in the Corinth area. And it's really the way we have to go. The days where you can count on volunteers 24/7, sadly, is going away. Post-COVID, there's been a lot of demand for full-time positions. So those people who used to be able to volunteer in one department and work somewhere else, they've kind of gone away. So regional cooperation is the word of the day. We are also looking at areas like code enforcement, assessing, animal control, taking care of cemeteries, and then internal things, auditing and clerical. It's hard finding people that have the willingness to take these jobs because, again, in a tight labor market, you go where you can get the best for your family. Secondly, getting qualified people because there are not a lot of schools that teach you how to do all these jobs that you need to do in towns. So by centralizing some of those things at the county level, you'll start to make a difference. Cumberland now offers assessing services. York has a fire administrator. In addition to what we did in the Howland area, supporting them, we do animal control for about a dozen towns in the county. So we can, through county government, operate in a more effective model than what you've seen. And this isn't in any way disrespect municipalities, but a lot of them are really struggling with so many things. And we see the county as an opportunity to step up and help those who want to work together.
Are there other towns that don't have a contract with municipalities as far as police and fire and ambulance service?
There very likely are. There have been these mutual aid agreements, David, where a fire chief and another fire chief will get together and say, look, when you need backup or you need a tanker truck that we have, we'll send it to your scene.
Likewise, you'll come to us. The bigger towns in Penobscot County that either have a full-time or a very good volunteer fire department, they've been able to carry through. But many times, especially if it's during the day, you've got a lot of these volunteer firefighters that may be 45 minutes to an hour away from their hometown. So they physically are not even available to fill those slots. So it's resulted in some pressure. I'll tell you, it's been more emergency service or ambulance related than fire. There have been a number of towns, some of your larger communities that have had these mutual aid that have told their fire departments, other than a life-threatening situation, you are not to respond to an ambulance call in these towns because we don't have an agreement. And it's creating a patchwork throughout the state.
What happens to the unorganized territories?
Well, the unorganized territories are unique. There's 8 counties in Maine that have significant unorganized territories, and they have a manager who de facto is their municipal officer, taking care of the roads, taking care of the trash,
contracts for mowing and plowing, filling up the salt sheds, and the ambulance fire services that have to be contracted. That's all done through the UT department.
Under the UT, it's a separate budget, and the money is raised from the property taxes assessed to the properties, either the land or the camp owners in the UT, and that is what is used to fund the budget for those services. Now, there are things that we do put in there, like law enforcement. So there are deputy sheriffs that patrol regions of the county when there's not a local police force. There's 11 municipal departments in Penobscot County, but all those other towns still need and want law enforcement. Some of them have gone to a unique model where they actually have a full-time police force that is made up of deputies. So the county hires, trains, supports, takes care of all that, and then the town contracts for that. For example, Herman has a full-time force now, but it's deputy sheriff. So we oversee that and we invoice them for the contract cost. It's a win-win situation because it allows us to interchange people when there are vacations or sicknesses or whatnot. The town benefits because they don't have to have a chief and an administration. Same thing happens in the UT. We have deputies that patrol those areas. They know the areas because some of them live there, and they are the face of law enforcement in the UT. The ambulance, the fire, some of those other services are contracted with adjoining towns that have the means to do it.
East Millinocket has been great over the years in taking care of some of the UT up there. The folks, the Lincoln Holland area have been good about contracting. So UT is really a compilation of different services. The guy that we have is just a treasurer, George Buswell. He lives in the county, he lives in Corinth, and he knows a lot of the mechanics of solid waste and road work and whatnot. So he's our administrator, and he has an assistant that takes care of the in-office stuff. George goes out on the road. He's kind of like the road commissioner too, checking the roads, checking in with the different folks in the plantations and unorganized territories. It's a nice form of collaborative government that some of the counties have.
I've had to contact LUPC many times related to real estate. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So just like your town has a planning board that reviews things and may have a planning officer or code enforcement, the Land Use Planning Commission, or LUPC, is the planning board for all of the unorganized territories. So if you want to build, if you want to develop something in an area, you would have to go to them as the planning board for the unorganized territory.
Thank you for listening to Part 1 with Andre Cushing, President of the Maine County Commissioners Association and Chair of the Penobscot County Commissioners. Make sure to tune in for Part 2 tomorrow, Sunday, March 15th at 6:30 a.m. on VOM, The Voice of Maine.
You've been listening to Q Point.
Follow us at qpointpodcast.com or on your favorite streaming app.
This is where you can get the news from the people who make the news.
Make sure to join us next time.
We hope you tune in.
Q Point Podcast invites guests and candidates from all parties to join the conversation. The views, information, opinions, and comments expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the host, Q Point Podcast, associates, affiliates, and CQRE LLC.
Thanks for being a part of the conversation. The most important voices aren't always the loudest ones. They're the voices of everyday people, raising families, running businesses, serving their towns. That's who we want to hear from. Share your ideas with us online, and let's make sure those voices are never left out. Find us on Facebook or on X or at qpointpodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Catch every episode at qpointpodcast.com or wherever you stream. Tune in and tell your friends.